A very good evening. You're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8, read to you by myself, Notile Sitole. First up, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
The Minister for Education has released the 2020 Form 5 results. The Minister for Tinkundla has handed over Master of the High Court offices to the Chief Justice. The EPC will hold by-elections on the 27th of March 2021.
And now, the news in detail. 9 candidates shared position 1 in the 2020 EGCSE examination. The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says the 2020 overall pass rate is 92.91%, which is an increase of 0.28% compared with the 2019 pass rate of 92.63%. The minister says the 2020 pass rate is the second highest since 2011. She announced the results at a press conference which was held at the ministry.
The EGCSE subjects examined in the year 2020 were 17. The 2020 candidature decreased by 0.35%, and candidates who credited their subjects in 2020 increased by 0.72%. The 2020 results overall pass rate is 92.91%, and this shows an increase of 0.28% when compared with the 2019 overall pass rate of 92.63%. The minister says the candidature for 2020 was 19,931, and this shows a decrease of 0.35% when compared with the 2019 candidature, which was 20,002. She says there were 9,493 males and 10,438 females in 2020.
The outstanding candidates were chosen on their performance in the best 6 subjects. 9 candidates shared position 1, and these are Dlamini Seluliwe Nosisa from St. Michael's High School, Dlamini Siphathelwe S, St. Mark's High School, Shongwe Sihle Temlando, Dwalile High School, Mamba Adele Simamukele, St. Mark's High School, Mamba Tandega Petunia, St. Michael's High School, Dlamini Nokuphiwa Thobekile, St. Mark's High School, Nkambule Sibusiso Sinethemba, St. Francis High School, Chibwe Luyanda Monti, Boys High School, Tabete Ayandiswa, St. Mark's High School. The 9 candidates above scored A* in 6 best subjects.
The minister says the results are a product of the effort made by different stakeholders who ensured that when schools opened, they adhered to the COVID-19 regulations and that students were safe and prepared to sit for the examinations. She says the ministry also ensured that all COVID-19 regulations were followed during the conduct of the examinations, the marking and all other processes that have culminated to the release of the results. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Musim Konda in Babane.
The Minister of Education, Lady Howard, says the pass rate of the 2020 pre-voc examinations is 92.71%, which is a decrease of 0.94% of 2019, which was 93.65%. She says 268 candidates sat down for the examinations.
All 16 schools registered candidates for the pre-voc curriculum in 2020, the same as in 2019. The 2020 candidature shows a decrease of 0.37% compared with the 2019 candidature. In 2020, 268 candidates sat for the examination, and this shows a decrease from the 269 candidature of 2019. The 2020 pass rate is 92.71%, which is a decrease of 0.94% from the 2019 pass rate, which was 93.65%. In 2020, the pass rate of candidates who got C or better was 53.26% compared to the 2019 pass rate of 58.58%, and this shows a decrease of 5.32% when compared with the 2019 pass rate.
The outstanding candidates were chosen on their performance in the best 2 subjects. Candidates in position 1. There is Dlamini Gwanele from Franson Christian High. Candidates in position 2 are as follows. Khumalo Lusanda, Evelyn Bering High, Ndlela Siboniso Sibusiso, Salem High, Mavimbela Tanzile, Ndonjen High, Mazia, Andile Brian, Ekukhanyeni High, Dlamini Njabuliso, Vuvulane High, Ngozo Tabani Mzwakhe, Vuvulane High, Mamba Nowetu, Selulego, Evelyn Bering High, Mazibuko Sibonakaliso, Ngwane Central High.
The minister has appreciated the work done by the teachers who marked the examination scripts in 2020. She says the sacrifice they made to mark the examination under the COVID-19 threat is appreciated. She also appreciated the Council and the Management of Examinations Council of Eswatini for ensuring that they deliver on their mandate even under very difficult circumstances. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula with Muzim Konta in Babane.
The Minister of Tinkundla and Administration, David Ngampalala, has handed over most of the High Court offices which are at Lobamba constituency to the Chief Justice Begima Palala. The event was also attended by Ho Regional Administrator Princess Tanzile.
It is not only the office of the Master of the High Court that has been established at Lobamba constituency. The other offices include civil registration under the Ministry of Home Affairs, veterinary offices under the Ministry of Agriculture, revenue offices under the Ministry of Finance, to name but a few. According to the Minister of Tinkundla and Administration, David Ngampalala, the setting up of the offices at Lobamba constituency is in line with government's decentralization policy.
Imbobe yemhlaba yasithuma ukuthi akusale kuye ama-service asondela kubantu etinkundleni.
Ngampalala says government is tasked by their majesties to decentralize all services so eMaswati could easily access them. He says the office of the Master of the High Court is one of the crucial offices in the country. The Chief Justice Begima Palala says officers who will be based at Lobamba Constituency Center have already been employed.
Stauletsa Assistant Master.
Mapalala says the offices will be occupied by 3 officers, which are assistant master, supporting staff as well as clerk. He hopes that the minister will expand the innovation to other constituencies. He says decentralization government services will greatly assist eMaswati. Mapalala added that the partnership with the Ministry of Tinkundla and Administration will go a long way, as there are limited Master of the High Court offices in the country. Ho Regional Administrator Princess Tanzile applauds government for setting up offices at Lobamba constituency, as they will make it easy for eMaswati to access government services.
Siyambonga nokuthi uhulumende sovele uqalile kusondzela kubantu.
She added that the Master of the High Court offices are mostly used by eMaswati. She says most of them are those who have lost their loved ones. She says before the setting up of the offices, people had to seek such services in Babane. She says it was pleasing that government is always decentralizing its services. According to the Minister of Tinkundla and Administration, government will continue to decentralize all services to other constituencies across the country. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Muzim Konta Lobamba.
Chief Justice Begima Palala has applauded the Ministry of Tinkundla for building a service center which will house a magistrate court in Simunye amongst other government departments. Mapalala was speaking when the minister inspected progress at the center.
Minister for Tinkundla David Ngampalala has handed over a building at Simunye to act as a service center for various government activities closer to the people. These include offices of the Master of the High Court.
Usukumele etulu thina selitiwo sithunye nje ukuthi simexe ama service kubantu njengoba imbobe yemhlaba yathi bantu abangasahambe ama distance lamade. Bantu akubonakala ukuthi bathola ema service eduze. Kunalomkhuhlane nje lesikhuluma ngawo ufica ukuthi kuyakamanzini usuke esimunye sekumanka lo muntu uyofuna nje liphepha lengabe ulithola.
Speaking on behalf of the recipients, Chief Justice Begima Palala says the opening of the office of the Master of the High Court will relieve the backlog faced by Stegi.
La ndzawonye nafika umuva kade kusi akudzingeka ukuthi ayimbabane nakamanzini. Ngubongele minister ukuthi uthena ufika wekunene wabona ukuthi ube nale vision ukuthi usale implementa i-decentralization. Ngaphandle kwayo le system ngeke isebenze kahle.
Mhlume, Member of Parliament Victor Malambe, expressed his gratitude to the Ministry of Tinkhundla.
Ngiyabonga nje kakhulu ukuthi namuhla la enkundleni yasemhlume sebatawukhona kuthatha certificate baka master sebakhona tinkantolo kusekunengi lokutawendiwa siwabonile nalamatiko ngekuhlukana kwawo.
Malambe continued to say that the service center came at the right time when Eswatini is faced with COVID-19. People under Mhlume Nkundla will no longer have to expose themselves traveling long distances to access help. Reporting is Tembelihle Makucho with Temba Shabangwet Simunye.
The Minister of Works and Public Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, says it will cost government over 100 million emalangeni to rehabilitate the country's roads, which were damaged by Cyclone Eloise. The minister says in some places, the rehabilitation of roads has begun.
The heavy rains received by the country from January 23rd to 24th were part of Cyclone Eloise. They left many roads in the country in a bad state. In some areas, bridges were swept away. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, says the ministry is working with the National Disaster Management Agency to rehabilitate the roads.
100 million imali letsingeka ukulungisa lo monakalo lokhona. Kepha nje singeke sihlale ukuthi mhlambe uhulumende azasinike yonke ngebuningi bayo.
The minister says despite that it will take over 100 million emalangeni to fix the roads, the ministry will not await government to provide the whole amount. Instead, it will use what will be availed by the government and gradually fix some of the roads. He says the amount of the damage caused by the rains in the country's roads requires the ministry to work close with the National Disaster Management Agency. He added that this was because recently damaged roads were not budgeted for. He says this year alone, government built 4 bridges which were budgeted for, so it will be difficult for the ministry to attend to the recently destroyed bridges. On Friday, the acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku announced that critical infrastructure was damaged, such as roads covering at least 775 kilometers and 53 bridges. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
Manzini Regional Education Officer Nhlanhla Dlamini has advised school principals and school committees in the region to ensure that schools are well taken care of and that overgrown vegetation is cleared to avoid incidents of theft that might occur during the strengthened partial lockdown period. Dlamini said this in Manzini, where he was also warned about the unkempt premises tend to attract burglars.
The outbreak of COVID-19 in March last year has negatively affected many sectors in the country, including the education sector. Many schools in the country were closed and teachers and school-going children were advised to stay at home to minimize the spread of COVID-19. The closing of schools in the country has then resulted to many schools to be neglected, such that these may allow criminals to steal schools' properties and house breakings in teachers' quarters. Manzini Regional Education Officer Nhlanhla Dlamini has advised head teachers and school committees to make sure that they always look after the schools by cutting grass and maintain the schools to protect school properties.
We want to laud head teachers for being present in the different schools to see to it that the schools are in good condition. We can encourage all of them actually to see to it that the schools are clean. There's nothing that may disturb the neatness and the cleanliness of the schools as they prepare schools for opening that shall be announced by government in due course.
Dlamini further appealed to teachers and school committees to always visit their schools to ensure that the school properties are safe. For Eswatini TV News, Zoto Dlamini with Mbonga Dube, Manzini.
Broadcasting manager at the Eswatini Communications Commission, Vusikama Khumalo, has urged Emaswati to pay their TV licenses as this helps contribute to the growth and maturity of the industry and support the quality production of local content. He said this at a press conference where the TV License Consortium had visited Eskom offices to ensure that the staff members are up to date with their TV license payments.
License Consortium, as guided by the Eswatini Television Authority Act of 1983, continues to ensure that people and corporates comply with the Act by paying their TV licenses. The Eswatini Communications Commission is one of the companies that have decided to lead by example and encourage staff members to pay their TV license. Eswatini Broadcasting Manager Vuzikama says part of the TV license mandate is to regulate and promote growth in the broadcasting industry. Therefore, Eswatini staff need to lead by example and make sure they are compliant and up to date with payments of TV license.
Today, therefore, we continue to urge people to pay their TV licenses because this helps contribute to the growth and maturity of the industry. It enhances the level of training and human upskilling as well as the quality of local production content. Eswatini also reminded that not paying your TV license is against the law and is a criminal offense.
Project Manager Mordecai Donga says more people will be prosecuted this year for non-compliance.
We've ensured that those that are not paying for their television license fees are either prosecuted or a payment plan is arranged between ourselves and with them. On the issue of prosecution, I want to advise the nation that we have managed to, as of the 31st December 2020, we managed to prosecute more than 588 people that were in possession of television devices and were not paying, which is an increase from the previous year, ending 31st December 2019, where we had prosecuted around 258, defaulters. So what we look forward to doing this year is to prosecute more, because what we have noted is that people are resisting. Everybody knows that they've got to pay for their television license, and they just don't want.
He applauds Eswatini and urges other corporates to follow suit. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula with Patizo Msibi in Babane.
Residents under Zichinini Rural Kraal under Kubuta constituency, Mbolonjeni Rural Kraal under Mbolonjeni constituency, as well as Sitataweni Rural Kraal under Lukongolweni constituency, will on March 27 hold by-elections. This announcement was made by Elections and Boundaries Commissioner Mhlaplangeni Dlamini during a press briefing at Nkanini on Monday.
The three constituencies that will have Bukopo Betingundla by-elections next month are those areas whose Bukopo died while in office. On November 17 last year, the Elections and Boundaries Commission announced that these areas will elect new Bukopo this year. EPC Commissioner Mhlaplangeni Dlamini says the by-elections will be held under COVID-19 strict regulations. Dlamini gave details about the coming elections, which he said have been blessed by their majesties.
On the 27th and 28th February this year, 2021, these are the days allocated for nominations therein, and which shall be followed on the 27th of March this year with regard to the actual primary elections being the by-elections. We at this point also confirm having prepared all the relevant by-election precursor programs for civic and voter education, which will be rolled out. We wish to implore the nation, in particular the voting members of the nation in these three areas in particular, to fully participate in the by-elections in exercise of their constitutionally entrenched legal right to vote freely and fairly as recognized and protected under our Tingundla system of government.
Dlamini implored residents of these areas to come out in their numbers to exercise their right to vote. He also mourned the passing away of the Elections and Boundaries Deputy Commissioner Winnie Magagula. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Muzim Konta Nganini.
Manzini Regional Office COVID-19 Task Team has visited Mhlambanyati, Bunya, Lamkapi and Mhlabubovu and surrounding areas with the aim of ensuring that the COVID-19 compliance under the Operation Bopa campaign is followed. This was revealed by Manzini Region Operation Bopa Team Leader Richard Ndwandwe at Mhlabubovu.
In January this year, the acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku launched Operation Bopa, which is aimed at ensuring that those who will be found not complying to the COVID-19 regulations, including the wearing properly of face masks, social distancing, and the use of 70 to 80% hand sanitizers, will be arrested. The Manzini region COVID-19 task team then began the Operation Bopa in various places under the region, including Punya, Mhlambanyatsi, Lamkapi, and Mhlabubovu, to ensure that the COVID-19 regulations are adhered to. Operation Bopa team leader in the Manzini region, Richard Ndwandwe, further explains.
Sibuka ikakhulu compliance etitolo in terms of ema-sanitizer. Labanenge ema-sanitizer bengosi sebatifakela emanti. Akusasiwo la sanitizer la kungiwo lekathi lekawa approvile uhulumende ukuthi sithinga 70 to 80% alcohol.
Ndwandwe says those who were found not complying to the COVID-19 regulations paid a fine of 100 emalangeni, and those who were using hand sanitizers below 70%, their hand sanitizers were confiscated. The task team will continue visiting other areas in the region to ensure that the spread of the virus is minimized countrywide. For Eswatini TV News, Zoto Andlamini with Mbonga Dube at Mhlabubovu.
A very good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV. Now we'll take a look at our sports news. Themba Dlamini, who is a netball coach for Olympia Africa netball team, says the COVID-19 outbreak did not really affect them that much as they had already taught everything that is required by a developing player. Dlamini says using young players will work to their advantage.
The Olympia netball team uses mostly young players. Even though they are using young players, the team is doing well in the Netball Top Flight League. Many teams have been affected by the coronavirus outbreak, which forced the suspension of sports in the country for a period that is now close to a year. This, however, Olympia netball team coach Themba Dlamini says they have not been greatly affected by the outbreak since they are using young players.
No, siliqembu lelisakhula lebadlali labancane baka netball. Umkhuhlane awukase affect kakhulu thina ngaphandle kokuthi asisasiko active.
Dlamini says as a small team that is using young players, the coronavirus did not affect them that much because of the things they wanted to teach to them. As they are still developing, they managed to include it all, and now they are at the top level. The only way the virus affected them is that they are no longer active to apply what they have been teaching to them. Dlamini says the fact that they are using young players between the ages of 18 and 20, they managed to cover most of the most basics of the sport.
Majority yabo, they are between 18 and 20 years old, and the especially with fire values, basics, understanding the sport of netball, besebanako njengoba wathi phathuza ukuthi beba active kuligi yaka netball yakangwane. So kwabo is the matter of ukuthi sibe physically active nasibuya.
Dlamini says they will need at least 2 months to prepare their physical condition before they can be able to compete in the top form when the games finally return. Dlamini encouraged his players to continue with their individual trainings and also be safe from the virus. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibu with Lungelele Makakula, Zulwini.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a look at tonight's headlines.
The Minister for Education has released the 2020 Form 5 results. The Minister for Tinkhundla has handed over Master of the High Court offices to the Chief Justice. The EPC will hold by-elections on the 27th of March 2021.
And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.